Hello and welcome to our monthly report from the European Parliament here in Strasbourg. MEPs voted this week to approve a package of measures designed to enable Europeans to seek medical treatment in another member state if they face an undue delay at home.
The principle of patient mobility was established several years ago by the European Court of Justice. Judges ruled that a British woman who travelled to France for treatment because she faced a long wait for an operation in the UK was entitled to be reimbursed the cost of her treatment by her local health authority. MEPs and member states have been trying to reach agreement on the extent and application of this right. The new legislation gives patients a right to claim reimbursement for different kinds of treatments carried out abroad. National contact points will also be established in each member state to help patients and inform them of their rights. EPP member Françoise Grossetête, who's Parliament's rapporteur on this legislation, believes it represents a major step forward for Europe's citizens.
Finally, we are clearly defining the right of patients to access cross-border healthcare, which means having the best possible information on the treatment they can access in a member state other than their own. And that's really important because we've seen a certain number of cases going before the Court of Justice, and it was the court that was making the law. So the time came when the Parliament, as a legislative body, had to seize the opportunity, and that's what we've accomplished today.
Où le Parlement, qui est législateur, devait se saisir de cette législation, et c'est ce que nous faisons aujourd'hui.
MEPs also discussed more joint action and coordination in the fight against Alzheimer's disease. Oana Antonescu, an EPP member from Romania, has drafted a report that aims to promote a more integrated approach to Alzheimer's across the EU.
It's a very important issue for Europe because we now have 10 million people suffering from neurodegenerative diseases, and most of them are suffering from Alzheimer's, so it is an important issue for all the countries, and that's why Europe is trying to do something about it at the European level.
Both the patient mobility and the Alzheimer's reports were adopted almost unanimously by MEPs.
For the first time, Hungary has taken over the EU's rotating presidency and, as is customary, Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán met with MEPs in Strasbourg to present his presidency's priorities.
Stronger Europe is the slogan chosen by Hungarians to describe what they will try to accomplish. EU policies in basic areas should be strengthened, the EU should be made more citizen-friendly, and enlargement of both the Union and the Schengen area should continue. But of course, the economy will occupy this presidency as much as it did the previous, and Viktor Orbán set the tone in Parliament by calling for fiscal responsibility as well as growth and job-promoting reforms.
We have a European Code of Conduct, which has been one of the cornerstones of what we have been doing, and it is a cornerstone of prudent economic behavior. We cannot live beyond our means, we cannot spend more money than we are capable of producing, and we cannot burden our children and grandchildren with debt because of our behavior.
EPP Group Chairman Joseph Daul struck the same note, expressing concern for the fate of the European currency, but also confidence in the Hungarian presidency.
Et je viens maintenant à ces priorités en commençant par la première, la stabilité de l'Europe.
And now I come to the presidency's priorities, beginning with the first, which is the stability of Europe. It is perhaps a good thing that the two presidencies of the Council in 2011 will be taken on by countries that do not belong to the euro, but who are thinking about joining very quickly. Both Hungary and Poland could join and have a great interest in ensuring the stability of this currency. I will say again that the only efficient way of putting an end to the speculative attack on the euro and to strengthen the fundamentals of the European economy is to bring order to public finances.
Par une remise en ordre de nos finances publiques.
The start of the Hungarian presidency has been somewhat mired by criticism of a new media law. Viktor Orbán, co-founder of a democratic movement in communist Hungary, did not take lightly accusations of attempts to suppress the free media. He has promised to amend the law if so required by an analysis being carried out by the European Commission, and Joseph Daul did not doubt him.
Je crois fortement à votre parole.
I trust your word. For my part, I trust the European Commission in its role as guardian of the treaties, and I have confidence you will respect the meaning and spirit of European law.
At the EPP group's request, MEPs debated the situation of Christians in the world, following several violent attacks in recent months. They want more effective and timely defence of religious freedom, recognised by the EU as a fundamental human right. MEPs temporarily left the building on Wednesday evening to burn candles at a light ceremony in remembrance of those killed by an attack on a Coptic church in the Egyptian city of Alexandria on New Year's Eve. The attack was the latest in a series of incidents targeting Christians that claimed 58 lives in a Baghdad church last October and 80 more in Nigeria on Christmas Eve. A massive 75% of religiously motivated violence in the world last year was against Christians, with estimates of up to 1 million Christians displaced from Iraq over the last few years because of persecution. Italian MEP Mario Mauro, who is OSCE representative against racism, xenophobia and discrimination, in addition to being responsible in Parliament for a report on the first EU-Iraq cooperation agreement, is one of those calling for religious freedom to be incorporated into the external policies of the EU by adding a binding clause on respect of freedom of religion to agreements with third countries. Following a speech by the EU's High Representative for Foreign Affairs in which she only mentioned Christians once, Mr. Mauro insisted that we should no longer talk about religious freedom in a vacuum.
We need to call hatred for Jews anti-Semitism, hatred for Muslims Islamophobia, and we also need to describe hatred for Christians in an appropriate manner, because only in this way will people in those countries who embrace freedom and justice be involved. I would ask you for this, and I would ask you to be concrete. Let's act in the interests of everybody, and let's do it quickly, because the world is waiting for a signal from Europe.
That's all from this first session of the new year. We'll be back as usual next month with more news from Parliament. To keep up to date in the meantime, visit our website, eppgroup.eu. Thanks for watching.